first thing I remember is the sound of the barn latch dropping behind me. It was late November, cold enough that every breath hung white in the air, and my father was standing beside the feed bins with one hand resting on a cedar chest I had never seen before. He did not ask whether I liked the girl he had chosen. He only said, "Before you answer me, you need to know what she kept in this barn. My name is Jonas. I am a husband, a father, and the head of a household in an old order Amish community. I tell these stories because people often see the outside of our lives, but not the decisions underneath them. And if you have ever wondered how much choice an Amish son truly has when marriage enters the conversation, I would like you to stay with me. Tell me in the comments whether you think a father can see something in a future spouse that a young man is too proud to notice." I was 18 then, though I believed I was older in every way that mattered. I could hitch a team before sunrise, sharpen a planer blade by hand, and put in 12 hours of field work without asking for rest. I had begun earning a little money in a cabinet shop 3 days each week, and I carried those few folded bills in my pocket as if they proved I belonged to no one. My father knew better. That autumn had been hard on our household. A storm had laid down nearly 6 acres of corn. My youngest brother had been sick for weeks, and a wheel bearing on our main wagon had broken during harvest. None of those things alone would have ruined us. Together, they left us counting every sack of grain and every jar on the cellar shelf. I knew we were short. I did not know how short. The girl my father had chosen was named Miriam. She was 19, quiet in company, and better with numbers than most men I knew. Her family lived 3 farms away. I had spoken with her at singings and once while carrying benches after a wedding meal. She was not a stranger, but she was not the girl I had imagined marrying. At 18, I had imagined many things. I imagined a wife who laughed easily and looked for me when I entered a room. I imagined that courtship would begin because I had chosen it, and that my father would stand back and let me prove I was a man. Miriam rarely looked toward me at all. When she did, her expression was calm and difficult to read. So when my father told me he believed I should begin visiting her family with serious intention, I felt something hard rise in my chest. We were in the workshop that morning. Fine maple dust covered the floor, and the stovepipe ticked as it warmed. My father had just finished fitting a drawer when he said it. I set down the plane too quickly. The blade struck the bench. "I will choose my own wife," I told him. He looked at the nick I had left in the wood. Then he looked at me. "You may," he said, "but first, you will come to the barn tonight." That was all. The whole day I worked angry. Every board I lifted felt heavier because I believed my father had decided I was still a child. I told myself he wanted a marriage that would strengthen 2 farms. I told myself Miriam's father had offered something. Land, perhaps. A horse. A share in a new workshop. Pride is quick to invent motives when it does not know the truth. After supper, my father took a lantern from the mudroom and walked toward the barn. Snow had not yet fallen, but the ground was stiff beneath our boots. The barn smelled of hay, leather, and the sharp sweetness of stored apples. Our 2 horses shifted in their stalls as we passed. He led me to the far wall behind the feed bins. There sat the cedar chest. It was small, about 2 feet wide, with a dark iron clasp. My father opened it and lifted out a folded piece of brown paper. Inside were 11 receipts, each one written in the same careful hand. Miriam's hand. The first receipt was for 50 pounds of flour. The next was for lamp oil, salt, and 2 jars of medicine. Another was for a replacement wagon bearing from a shop in town. The amounts were small, but together they represented nearly everything our family had needed during the previous 3 months. I looked at my father and asked where the money had come from. He did not answer immediately. He reached deeper into the chest and brought out a cloth pouch. Inside were coins, mostly nickels and dimes, and 3 folded dollar notes. "Miriam earned it," he said. I knew she helped her mother with sewing, but that could not explain all of it. My father told me that since spring, Miriam had been keeping records for 2 neighboring farms. She counted egg sales, cloth purchases, seed costs, and market payments. She was paid only a little each week. Instead of keeping it, she had brought most of it to our barn after dark. I thought I had misunderstood him. "Why here?" I asked. My father closed the chest and placed both hands on the lid. "Because she knew you would refuse it." That sentence struck harder than any command he could have given. Miriam had learned from her mother that our household was struggling. She also knew I'd stopped attending some youth gatherings because I was taking extra work. She understood enough about my pride to know that if she offered help openly, I would call it charity and push it back into her hands. So she made an arrangement with my father. She would leave money in the cedar chest. He would use it only for food, medicine, or repairs that could not wait. No one would tell me until the harvest was finished and our accounts were steady again. I felt embarrassed first, then angry, not at her exactly, but at the thought that everyone had seen our need except me. I asked my father whether he had promised her marriage in return. His face changed then, not much, but enough. No, he said, and if you believe she would purchase a husband, you do not know her at all. The horses moved behind us. A chain tapped softly against a wooden post. I remember those sounds because neither of us spoke for several moments. Then my father gave me the only line I have remembered word for word from that night. A wife does not make a man smaller by seeing where he is weak. He picked up the lantern and walked out, leaving me beside the chest. I stayed there nearly half an hour. The secret did not mean I suddenly loved Miriam. Life is rarely so simple. It did mean that the story I had told myself about her was wrong. I had thought her quietness meant distance. In truth, she had been paying close attention. I had thought my father wanted to control my future. In truth, he had seen a kind of strength I did not yet know how to value. The next Sunday evening, I visited Miriam's family. Her father sat with us for a while, then found a reason to check the stove in the next room. Miriam and I remained at the kitchen table. A blue enamel cup sat between us. I could hear her younger sisters whispering near the stairway. I asked her directly why she had helped my family. She folded her hands and looked down at them. Because your mother was stretching one chicken across 3 meals, she said, and because your brother needed medicine. There was no attempt to impress me, no smile waiting for praise. I asked why she had not told me. This time she looked at me. Because you were working as hard as you could, she said. I did not want to take that from you. That answer unsettled me more than the money. She had not helped because she believed I was incapable. She had helped because she respected the effort I was already making. She understood the difference between rescuing a man and standing beside him before he knows how to ask. Our courtship began slowly. I visited every other Sunday at first. We talked about ordinary things: gardens, work, children, the church, and what kind of household we hoped to build. Miriam did not agree with everything I said. That surprised me. She asked what I would do if a business failed. She asked whether a husband should tell his wife when money was tight. She asked whether I believed leadership meant making every decision alone. At 18, I did not have good answers, but I began to want them. We married the following autumn. There was no dramatic moment when I knew with perfect certainty. There were dozens of smaller moments. The way she checked figures twice before putting them away. The way she listened before speaking. The way she could disagree without making a room feel divided. Years later, after we had children of our own, I understood why my father had taken me to the barn instead of ordering me to obey. He had not truly chosen Miriam for me. He had placed the truth in front of me and trusted that I would eventually recognize it. That is an important difference. In our community, parents often carry influence. A father may offer counsel. A mother may notice character before a son notices beauty. Families consider faith, temperament, work, reputation, and whether two people can build a stable home. But counsel is not the same as ownership. A marriage cannot carry real weight if it rests only on fear or duty. I did have a choice. I could have refused. My father would have been disappointed, but he would not have dragged me to an altar. The harder truth is that I nearly refused for the wrong reason. I wanted to prove my independence more than I wanted to understand the woman in front of me. The cedar chest remained in our barn for many years. After my father died, I brought it to my own home. It sits now on a shelf in my workshop. The iron clasp is rusted, and the lid no longer closes evenly. Miriam keeps sewing patterns in it. Our children know it belonged to their grandfather, but they do not know every receipt that once rested inside. Some stories belong to a household before they belong to the world. What I understand now is this. The person who is right for you may not be the person who makes you feel most impressive. Sometimes it is the person who sees the whole account, including the shortages, and stays steady anyway. My father saw that in Miriam before I did. He saw that she could protect my dignity without feeding my pride. He saw that she would speak carefully, work quietly, and stand beside me when the numbers did not add up. At 18, I thought marriage was about choosing the woman who made my future look exciting. My father knew it was also about choosing the woman who would help make a future possible. That is what the barn's secret explained. If you value honest stories about marriage, fatherhood, faith, and the decisions that shape an Amish household, you are welcome to subscribe. And I would like to ask you this. Do you believe my father guided me wisely, or did he step too far into a choice that should have been mine alone?